all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Rail workers warned us about disaster like this. I heard firsthand months ago about the corporate practice of precision scheduled railroading.
Precision scheduled railroading is shorter staff, longer hours, longer trains, less safety, less maintenance. Do I have all that right?
Oh, you got it all right. I
Okay.
mean, a lot of the derailments that you're seeing on national TV is one of a few things. It's lack of maintenance on the track, where they've cut the track gangs too short and they can't get out to fix it, or they've cut the carmen's, which is the union that works on the rail cars. So we have one derailment here in Northeast Ohio where a wheel flange was very thin. It picked a switch and derailed the entire train. Luckily, it was full of candle wax and not something highly volatile.
Rail workers tried to strike over this stuff, but were stopped by Congress. A few weeks later, and here we are. Several Norfolk Southern cars of toxic, highly volatile chemicals exploded fantastically in the tiny town of East Palestine, Ohio, 20 miles from where I grew up. So I met Clyde in East Palestine to ask him about it.
It looks like a faulty bearing caused a catastrophic derailment. These railroads are turning profits hand over fist. They've cut their workforce to bare bones, and now they're paying the price for it because the wheels are falling off the train, basically. Carmen were inspecting cars about 3 minutes per car. That's always been the industry standard. Now it's 90 seconds per car.
Is that because of PSR?
Yes, it's a rush job right now.
Okay, PSR, precision scheduling, railroading. That's what they call it. PSR. I mean, this is garbage. This is absolutely dangerous. It's garbage. And the railroads have been doing this for, about 10 years now, but it's getting even worse, because they got spoiled, I don't know how else to say it, with the amount of profit that they were making by cutting, the number of carmen, that's what he's referring to, who inspect the railroad cars for things like burnt out bearings, bad axles, okay? And that's why you're seeing derailment. So, of course, the right wing, covering for their corporate masters, it's all I can, say is the reason why they've decided to go all the way the other way, okay? Instead of saying, corporations really shouldn't be able to use their profits to buy back stocks when their workers are being worked 365 days a year on, endless hours schedules where they're exhausted all the time. I mean, what could go? No, instead, they're saying it's Joe Biden's fault, or they're saying it's Pete Buttigieg's fault, or they're saying it's the infrastructure money didn't get spent properly fault, or they're saying, I swear to God, it's a war on white people.
Not a single member of the Biden regime would dare to go to this portion of Ohio and breathe in the air because they know it's dangerous. They know that it is actively poisoning the citizens of Eastern Ohio. So why is it that they kind of shrug their shoulders and they say, yeah, okay, whatever? It's very simple. It's because the war on white people continues.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Why would you care for the white working class voters in Eastern Ohio? You haven't cared about them in other reasons or other portions, and I will prove it to you. If this train derailment happened in downtown Atlanta, in the densely populated black neighborhoods, this would be the #1 news story. It would be Flint water crisis 2.0. There would be clamoring and activism and talks for reparations. And Buttigieg, meanwhile, is out there saying, listen, while this derailment is happening, while the act of poisoning is happening, he's saying, look, the problem is that workers are too white.
Oh, my God. This is really twisted, sick stuff. There is nothing that a white supremacist, a white nationalist has ever seen happen with a Democratic president that they wouldn't say was some attack on their white nationality. Like white people are at war. Where? Not here. Maybe in Ukraine, but you're against that too. I mean, it is so unbelievable to me. It is so disgusting to me. It is so unbelievably, again, he's trying to make profit and hay out of, something that seriously could have been prevented by taxing stock buybacks at 4 times the rate that they're taxed now. So that when people who are running, 7 rail companies for the entire United States, we got 7 companies, are buying back their stock, they have to pay 4 times the tax that they're paying now, which would de-incentivize their stock buyback habit and maybe would re-incentivize their, hey, we should do some maintenance on the rail cars, or we should hire more people so that we can run a safer railroad. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is exactly what Joe Biden was talking about.
Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous. Why? They invested too little of that profit to increase domestic production. And when I talk to a couple of them, they say, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells, all the oil refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them? I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade. And that's going to exceed and beyond that. We're going to need it. Production. If they had, in fact, invested in the production to keep gas prices down, instead, they used the record profits to buy back their own stock.
Right.
Rewarding the CEOs and shareholders.
Right.
Corporations ought to do the right thing.
Right.
That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investments. They'll still make considerable profit.
Yeah, they will. And that is the issue. That is the real seed of greed that got planted. You know why Mitch McConnell is the leader, the Republicans' leader? Do you understand why Mitch McConnell is Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell is there to protect Republicans from ever seeing campaign finance reform. That's what he's there for. He's there to keep the gravy train rolling. He's there so that corporations know exactly where to shop and who to purchase. And he's sort of the traffic cop for that, let's call it a business model in these United States. That's why Mitch McConnell is the minority leader. That's why he was the majority leader before he lost his majority, in the Senate. And it's also why he lost his majority in the Senate. People who vote the way I do, the way that you do, people who vote intelligently, we know what the deal is. We know it's corporate profits. We know that there's money in politics that is just skewing everything to the point where people in East Ohio, they don't matter. Kids drinking lead from lead pipes in Flint, Michigan for, 10 years under Republican administrations? They don't matter. They don't matter. Profits matter. That's all we're about. That's what the Republican Party is there for. It is to protect corporations from ever thinking that they don't have to grease the Republican Party in order to keep this gravy train alive. Because Democrats will unionize their shops and will tax their stock buyback habit to the point where it's not advantageous anymore. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.